So, welcome to another Spotlight series. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming technical challenges within teams. I'm going to introduce Luis Gomez from SQLI and Ozias Armesto, who works for HOPR Association, which is a blockchain and data privacy startup. So, welcome, everybody. Welcome, both of you. Thank you for being here today and joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us here.
Luis, do you want to, just introduce a little bit about your sort of background and who you work for, and then I will go more into sort of like introducing about DASA, and then we'll talk about, the topic today, which is technical challenges within teams. So just to have a little bit of, history of Luis, you obviously are a DASA representative, a DASA coach. Tell us a little bit about your experience with your current company.
Okay, first of all, let me say hello to everyone who is connected here, and thank you for staying and shared all part of your time with us today. Okay, I am Luis Gomez. I am an IT guy for the last 25 years. I was working in several companies and several frameworks, but the last 10, 12 years, 12 years ago, I just started to work as DevOps after reading a couple of papers, of Patrick Debois and all the Agile way. As an IT guy, I was in love at the first sight, and I just started to work with cloud, with developers, and with the data centers and administrators, and trying to work all together. Since I found the DASA principles a few years ago with Dimitri and all the DASA people, was amazing and wonderful, and just started my journey inside the DASA. I was trying to apply all the DASA framework and help to develop the DASA framework for the last maybe 6 years, 7 years. Till 2 years ago, I just completed my DASA DevOps coach trainer in Rotterdam with Sam Rosberg and so many other guys that were awarded with the DASA prizes last year. And after that, today I'm just working for SQLI. This is a global company who is based in Paris and Switzerland. We are offering managed services for several companies. Mostly of them, they're in the top 10 companies in the world. Just helping to several teams to develop the platform as a service from the DevOps perspective, offering services for several developer teams and also for agile tools in Atlassian, but always from the DevOps perspective. Ausias was working with me till the beginning of this year. We were together sharing the responsibilities. He was more focused on the technical skills. It was more focused on the team and how to make it grow and the personal and the professional way. Part of my responsibilities was to identify the talent, make it grow, and make it feel comfortable in a safe place, trying to realize about how powerful the people are when they are having the tools, when they are having the environments, and they are having the motivation, right? And for me, that's a coach was a good training, and I was learning a lot of different things for applying in my career, mostly of the last 3-4 years. And that's all. Today, I just helping companies to develop another companies to develop platforms as a service, and just helping to junior, we could say that, or people who is starting the DevOps journey in the methodology, in the way of working, try to breaking the walls of confusions and so on. That's all.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Luis, for your introduction. Also, it's just a little bit about you before I go into the DASA story, and then we'll go into the topic.
Thank you, Katerina, and thank you for allowing me to work in this webinar and to participate. My experience is quite wide. I've been working in IT like more than 17 years, and in the last 3-4 specialized in DevOps. And I had the luck to share my experience with Luis in SQLi, and recently moved to my current employer, that it's Hopper, that it's a company working in the Web3 ecosystem, that is a disruptive technology that is building, because it's building a privacy protocol, trying to bring privacy back to the people. And that's really important because it's something that we lost in Web2. So mainly that's my experience, and glad to be here.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from your perspective, from a startup perspective, what the technical challenges are, and also how DevOps works with blockchain. So we'll come into that a little bit later. First of all, I just want to introduce DASA and also the Spotlight series, and then we'll continue. So my name's Katrina Loki. So I'm your host today. I forgot to introduce myself. And just a little bit about DASA. DASA is the world's largest DevOps and Agile association, fostering dialogue, debate, and collaboration amongst leading industry professionals and organizations. With a network of 300 plus partner organizations, DASA helps define, inform, and advance the DevOps industry through networking, information sharing, awards, lifelong learning, and certification. It was founded in 2016 with over 300 plus partners in 48 countries and 10,000 professionals who are involved with DASA, with the DASA community. Our main pillars that make up DASA are guidance, being one of them, by offering access to guidance materials that are created by the various working groups we have in place. These are aimed to help organizations refine their transformation journeys by learning from the successes of peers and the collective knowledge of experts. And these are in the form of best practices and DevOps maturity. So, and then secondly, communities. Communities are a powerful way of advancing the movement of DevOps, and the DASA communities are designed to help, inform and, obviously learn from each other in terms of, helping people through their challenges and success stories of digital transformation. And then obviously we like to recognize talent, being one of them. And we have recently created a talent academy through DASA for upskilling and reskilling and learning new skills. And then finally, we also like to recognize talent, and we do an annual award ceremony, which will be taking place next May, the 31st. And we are looking forward to hosting, we had an award ceremony this year, and we're looking forward to hosting a big award ceremony. And hopefully, we will, anybody who's interested in nominating themselves or being a speaker, we would love to hear from you. So the Spotlight series aims, is basically for industry bodies and community platforms such as DASA to offer guidance and advice based on co-creation and shared experiences. And for every challenge you may have, other organizations and leaders have faced these and other challenges in their transformations and have come up with effective approaches and solutions. So we want to invite the DASA community as we discuss complex but relevant topics like today, and tap into the collective intelligence and experiences of others from around the globe and exchange ideas and practical guidance. So we're now going to get into the conversation with Ozias and Luis. And the idea is, obviously, if you have any questions, please do add them in the comments and we will answer them as we go along. And so basically, there we go. I'm going to come up to the first question, which is, what are some of the challenges, we have when it comes to technology teams? Luis, I want to start with you. Obviously, you work with many companies. So what are the common technological challenges that you see?
Okay, right now the technical challenges mostly of the times is that DevOps is very it's the DevOps stack of tooling or the tools that we are managing right now. This is quite long right now. The point is that mostly of the times we are trying to make it fit with the purpose that we are doing, and the technical things. I on my side, I think that there's not a problem. There's not any problem. We have a lot of Cloud Native Computing Foundation is creating a bunch of very good stuff there. We have very good tools. There's a lot of trainings across in every single tool. There's a lot of ways of trying to learn that. Mostly of the times is that the people is confusing about how DevOps works, and they believe that managing Jenkins, managing Terraform, managing cloud, maybe AWS or Azure or whatever, people is doing DevOps. I think that there's not, from my side, from my perspective, there's not a problem with the technologies because it's very handy. It's not, when I just started several years ago, it was very difficult to learn some of the tooling, to get access to some trainings because it was very expensive and we're far away. We have language issues for understanding, mostly in Spain, for example, that people is maybe 20 years ago, the people was a little bit outside of the English of the English area, right? The point is that right now I think that maybe one of the topics is not regarding the technology, it's mostly how to work all together to make it possible, because there's a lot of topics about technical debt, is how to break the wall of confusion between the developer teams and the operations teams, is the cognitive load that we are charging over the developer teams, trying to manage their tools, their way of working or way of developing, and also using our tools or pipelines or whatever, right? This is my perspective right now. I think that technology is it's a good thing, and every single day there's a new tool. And if you want to be a senior, it means that you need to spend more than 10,000 hours for managing a tool. And I think that mostly of the tools that we are using, 10,000 hours, make it legacy. This is something weird about our previous culture. That's my point right now.
Okay. And, sort of, Osias, from a startup perspective, do you feel that the technical challenges are the same as working for a corporation?
It's different. When you are working for a startup, everything is easier in the sense of there's less people that you can talk to or you can request for authorization. You take decisions by your own. You don't have that hierarchy. You have a flight hierarchy, and you share your knowledge, and you decide together. So the kind of creating silos and that utopia that DevOps tries to solve, like enable communication across many team members in a startup, are different. Okay. In a startup, it's a really small team, one team or two teams, few people, perhaps 20 people, 40 people, depending on the size of the startup. But mainly the communication is good, in good health, and you need to take care of other aspects of DevOps, more perhaps on the technology side than in the processes. Processes are changing completely because the startup is growing. You start with a really small, simple process, but in half a year, you need a more mature and stable process because your company has grown. You need better processes, and you didn't materialize them. So your processes are being built from scratch at that moment. So it's a different perspective. Okay.
So you're sort of developing the processes as you go along, whereas the corporate
at the same moment that you face a problem, you start like, okay, we didn't take care about our testing approach that much. We only had the unit testing, and you need to go further and implement further processes And I can tell you about testing, but it can be about monitoring, it can be about log management, or whatever kind of process that you want to handle in your daily basis in the team.
Okay. So, we're obviously going to be talking about, adoption of technologies. What are the challenges when it comes to adopting technologies? I mean, what do you see people struggle with when it comes to adopting technologies?
I would say that when you adopt a new technology, it's like, great, I can try a new technology. I wanted to try this one. The IT specialists always like testing and tracking new technologies because they think that they're going to solve the previous or the current problems they have. So they do some kind of brainstorming of the current problem, research new tools, they look for it, and they kind of decide, look, okay, let's gonna go with this technology or with this tool because we think it's going to solve some of our problems. And obviously, when you decide that you have taken that decision because you think it is going to solve some of your problems that you already have, but you need to take care of many things. Is the technology that you have chosen stable? It is mature, or it has a big community? Because if it's an emerging technology, but in half a year it's not supported by the company or by the community, you have decided that you have to choose another one, okay? Or perhaps you start using it because you think it's open source and it's free for use, but when the team grows and you need to scale the technology, you need to buy licenses, and you didn't take care of that. So the adoption of technologies, we always take care of it in the technical side, like it's solving this problem, this technical problem that I have. But we need to take care before choosing one of those about some aspects, like it will make it perdure or to be with us, that technology for years. Because introducing a new technology, it's an aspect that it will cost us a lot.
So, I mean, in terms of time, teams don't really have time to adapt to new technologies.
Yeah. I mean, to adapt and to use. I mean, if you're going to use a new technology, but the community is going to use the open source community is going to use another one, you're going to be alone using that technology. What difficulties your training, difficulties your recruiting, difficulties many things. And
what are the sort of, I mean, in terms of like, nowadays, and the technologies, what are they using? What are the common technologies that you're using in the process of?
The several. Okay, let me add some topic that Ausias was. I totally agree with Ausias with the things that he was talking about. The point is that let me show you from for example, the big companies' perspective. When they are adopting some technological solutions, for example, for creating pipelines, for making some kind of infrastructure as a code, whatever. Adopting the new technology has two new legs that, for example, in the startup maybe is not so useful. But the first one is about you have not only the maturities, you have a possibility to have to get some subscriptions to the Matrix or the one of the tools that are just managing the things. For example, Kubernetes, you have the Cloud Native Computing Foundation open source versions, but you have also other options, for example, in Canonical or in Red Hat, that you can use their tools, but it's open source. They cannot sell a license for that thing. But you want to be sure that one of the topics, one of the concerns that the big companies has is that you're going to be supported by someone in the future, not only the community, is a huge number of professionals that can help you to improve. Because as Ausias told us, when you decide to adopt some technology, the problem is that you're going to be working or struggling with this tool for a long time. And then because if you are in a big company, you are managing a lot of different teams, so you are creating some kind of standards, and you are managing your, or you are creating your standards over this tool. And to move from this technology to another one is a terrible pain, because you need to refactor a lot of code, you need to do trainings, you need to adapt the things, and it's not a good thing. It's not possible. It's mostly of the times making these migrations is a pain. It's a totally pain. And the second leg that is more important, there's right now in the DevOps world, for example, the high turnover in companies, we need to be sure that technology that we are using, it's trendy. It means that there's a lot of people who is learning this tool, and it's available, the trainings and the capabilities for the other technicians to get this knowledge. Because for us, and Osius knows a lot about that thing, is that there's two legs. The first one is about the how to manage the tool. This is the technical skills that you have, and the other part is how to make the onboarding to this new guy inside the team with a knowledge base about how you are using this tool. The point is that you know there's people who is using this tool who has this one has the technical skills. To teach him the knowledge basis means that how we are using the tool, it makes the fast onboarding. If you need to teach to this guy to a new tool because it's very innovative, that this has in some travels, how to connect with the subscription or the support, and then how we're using that, it makes that some of the times is also another pain. But it's some of the topics that we are managing, for example, in big infrastructures, that we are working with these new technologies. I mean, mostly of the times, big companies, even someday where they were very innovative, 2 years, 3 years later, they are very conservative because the risk matrix is pretty high right now.
So how do you yeah, so what do you see, Luis, in terms of, when you see adapting to new tools, what do you see as a good way to get the team to sort of on board with it? I mean, given that they don't have time, obviously.
Okay, for doing that thing, for me, the most important thing is to align all the stakeholders of the project. Because when you are trying to solve a problem that your current technology is not solving, or maybe in your roadmap you have some challenge that your technology, that is not going to achieve for sure, or the work that you need to do is so hard, then you need to think in another way. The point right now is, for example, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, for example, in our world of DevOps automations, in continuous integrations, continuous deployment, even the cloud vendors, there were only few. Then it was pretty easy because, for example, when adopting Jenkins a few years ago was maybe the only solution. There was a few things, but right now, for example, you have several other solutions. The point is right now, for example, I am struggling with this thing in one of my projects. The point is that, okay, we are here, we expect to be here in the next 2 years, because, for example, when you are going to deploy one new project, you're going to do a POC, then an MVP, and there you go to production with something. It's the moment to do some kind of laboratories, and trying to use these open source applications, because mostly of them are open source. I think that Cloud Native Computing Foundation has the stronger community ever with the Linux community, and you can get these tools, you can test, you can try how to deploy how to develop things, and try to realize which is the best one, or which one has the lower technical depth for the future. Most of the times, every single tool has not is not fulfilling all your needs. Most of the times in this world, you need to deploy. Finally, you need to develop a Python script. You need to go on Golang. You need to go on Bash shell. You need to do something for adjust it, make some adjustments. Right. The point is, which one is the best for my purpose in the next 2, 3, 4 years? And then later, the point is that the guys who were in the lab, they are the most well known of the technology. Then the point is to look for the best trainees ever, if there are best trainees, or well, to create a safe space where we can test, we can try, and we can go with this POC, this MVP, and let's go to production, learning, making a continuous learning about every single thing, and identifying that there's no fails. We are learning bad bad ways that we run in a bad way, but we are learning something from there. And to put every single place, for me, the single point of truth is the most important thing right now in the DevOps companies is to create one place. I don't mind if it's the user story. I don't mind if it's a backstage platform. I don't know whatever. But the point is that every single one in the teams right now, the new team commerce, the new the guys we have their developers that are coming to the DevOps team, whatever, they can understand why we did that thing. And it's not a bad point. It's not a bad decision. It was the best decision that we can take in this moment. And that's the thing. For me, today, nowadays, we are managing so many tools that to have an expert on one tool, I think that is not it's violating one of the principles that the cross-functional teams and multidisciplinary teams. We need to understand what the tools do. If you understand what the tools do, it's very important that you can change and you can do several things.
Also, Katrina, let me complement the Luis answer, because when you manage tools, you need to take care. Like, for instance, if you are working in teams and one team decides to use one new tool that has rising in the market or in the community, and it starts to using it, but you need to take care about aspects of the backup in case it requires data, or recovery plans, security, user management, if it needs infrastructure for it, many things. So all those things, the licensing, all those needs to be managed by not only when you start using the tool. There are many other aspects you need to take care, and are important for the tool is correctly adapted or incorporated into the processes of the project or the company.
Right. So how do you manage the tools in your company, Ozias?
Well, as I mentioned before, we are a startup and we are in a process of growth and starting to use new tools. So our process is still being defined. But with my experience of working in big companies, I also take care of all those aspects.
Okay, but we talk about the processes like, backups and recovery plans and security. These are all processes that you need to consider.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
And security is really important. I mean,
how does it work? When it comes to working with DevOps and blockchain, for example.
Well, I would in the blockchain technology there are different tools and technologies, not just in the cloud. I would say like the classic cloud, okay, because we are working in the Web3 in a decentralized system. So our way to manage tools change. You don't have a single server. You have different nodes, and in those nodes you run applications. So the way and the strategy and perspective of how to manage those things change completely. It's something that it will be being redefined.
It's being redefined.
Yeah, in those years.
Okay, but blockchain, the whole point of it is to create a secure pipeline.
To create a secure what?
A secure pipeline, whilst you're working.
Well, blockchain, it's a technology that allow us to have a public ledge or a public information of what it's being transmitted in chain. Okay, so I wouldn't mix things or.
Okay, no, but in terms of like, I was thinking security wise, it obviously they have to consider that whilst they're building the blockchain.
Yeah, well, in fact, that's the point of the goal of my company is to provide
Exactly.
privacy. Is to provide
Yes.
privacy because
Yes.
we believe that when we are surfing internet, it's secure. Obviously, it's secure. You don't know the other. The other doesn't know what you are looking at, but it can get you many metadata from you. That metadata, it's very different.
Yeah, so let's talk about, obviously the rotation of teams and how that comes into play. So Luis, from a data perspective, being a data coach, how do you manage the rotation of teams?
Whoa, this is a pain. This is nowadays is the most challenging thing for all the teams. I think that it's across the world. The point is that there are only few DevOps, really DevOps people working across the world. There's a lot after the pandemic lockdown. There was a lot of companies that decided to move forward towards the digital things. We were talking about digital, but I think that the last 2 years was definitely the most motivated project on every single desk in the company. Okay, the point is that DevOps is helping all the companies to do a lot of different things, but the point is that we were only a few people because DevOps should be two ways of thinking. The first one is about automate as much as you can, and the second part, you need to think that you should work with the developer teams. Mostly of the companies were created silos long time ago, and to go to talk with the developers was not usual. The point is that only a few guys know how to do that, and the other part is that the automation things was the same thing that we were talking in the previous topic, is about they adopted some technology. This technology, the data centers, maybe they were moving to cloud, but everything was working fine. And the background on several tools as Terraform for provisioning things on cloud, to understand how cloud works, FinOps for managing the cost, all these things, there are only few people. Even there was a lot of boot camps about DevOps tooling, but that was a few. The point is that at this point, we were managing the thing from the scratch. I was working as hiring advisory, and the point is that trying to identify the talent, but not the talent that you have right now, is to bet with the talent that you could have in the next 6 months. Then I was working with Ausias in SQLA, and our purpose was to hire very well talented people managing machines, understanding the developers, understanding systems, understanding how everything works. But it was not so important if you are managing Terraform, you're managing Ansible, or you're managing Kubernetes. The point is that the onboarding process has two legs. The first one is about how the company, the culture, and the tools that we are using. And the second part was to do small trainings about every single tool and offering them the possibility to learn. Then we realized that people is not only looking for the best salary. The point is that the remuneration inside of a project has three legs. The first one is salary, of course, people is working for money, but the second part is that they want to grow in the professional way, and the third part is about the team. In my last 6 years, I just identified that these three legs are so important that the constant offer every single day, the salaries are, the proposals for applicants are very high. Every month is higher and higher. We think that maybe it's a bubble, but the point is that, of course, there's a bunch of companies that wants to go to start the DevOps journey, but they are thinking that it's only about tools, and they are going to move there. And the people, when arrives there, they realize that there's only money and tools, but they are not growing professionals in the professional way. They are not integrated in a big team, trying to sharing knowledge, sharing skills, make it grow. Because, for example, I'm very well Terraform on cloud, but there's another guy who is very good in QA tools for automating testing, and the people wants to know things, because when you are an IT guy, you feel comfortable in front of the machine, and you are not a fan of only one thing. You want to understand a little bit more. You need to understand
Yeah,
how the IT guys are,
yeah.
and I think that we did it a good job there in this point.
Okay. But in terms of rotating teams is to sort of make them understand the whole process.
I would say that one of the best things that you can do for doing the rotation is like you need to consider that in nowadays people change work, okay, the job, and that's a fact. It's something that you cannot fight against. You need to work with that issue and try to minimize the risk. So you need to do continuous training. You
Yeah.
need to do knowledge sharing of things. You cannot allow one only person to know the whole installation of one tool or one process or whatever. I mean, everything needs to be divided, and many people need to know things. Not it shouldn't be only in the shoulders of one person the knowledge of some of critical processes.
Okay, as you know,
So
in the DASA, let me only add one thing. As you know, you remember in the DASA principles means that
yes.
we can find there's something that is cross-functional and responsibility end to end. This is two of the DevOps principles that we can find in DASA. I think that this is the key, because as Alcius told us, the people who is working and is in love with the IT industry, the people knows that he has signed a lifetime contract with himself about you should learn something new every single day for the rest of your life. The point is that when you want someone who learns something and to take the responsibility of something, you cannot put him in a single point of failure. It means that you are going to be in this one of the chain, and you will be the masterpiece on this chain, because the people can win the lottery prize. I can go away to the Bahamas, because the people, if they go, you are breaking the chains. The people, if you want to, you are thinking in this DASA DevOps principles that end to end in mind as a responsibility of the whole team and as a cross-functional team, and the people you are creating the environment that people can get continuous training for every single place, every single thing. No one gonna feel the pressure to be a single point of failure. They are not on their shoulders. They are not going to be all the responsibility about only one thing, that he is the key member for doing that. It was in the past. Right now the people wants to go on weekends, want to have free time. The people who don't want to have on call call weekends, the people wants to be free. Then the point is that the knowledge makes you free, and the point is that you are sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your knowledge base about your talk, and you work, there's someone who wants to learn that thing. It makes that you are creating a very comfortable place, that the people is growing, and at the same place they are creating value, and the people is not feeling the pressure. I think that it's part of the things that you can cut the turnover mostly of in mostly of the companies. There are some CTOs or some people who is in charge that is forgetting these things, I think.
And also you talk about automating everything you can as one of the DASA principles as well, you mentioned earlier. And just wanted to ask, obviously, Luis, DASA provides a competence model. What key skills should we be looking at when it comes to providing, a fluid output in delivering within teams?
Okay, for me, linking the previous comment we did with that one, I think that there's a lot of people that is naming themselves as a DevOps, but nobody has a badge about DevOps, because DevOps is not a regular career. It's something that you learn. As we know that DevOps has some principles, is a way of working, is a way of discussion, to establish discussions, conversations, to communicate, to create things, to create value, to create a good place for work. No, then the point is that the values for me I think I recommend, for me, it's highly recommended to do the DASA fundamentals, because in these 303 pages, you have all the knowledge that you need to know about what DevOps is. When I am just doing, for example, interview for applicants, I try to do some of the questions that it can be answers if you have read something or you have some awareness about what DevOps is, right? And for me, DASA is offering to us a good possibility for the people to understand what DevOps is, a little bit far away from what the tools do, right?
Mhm.
And I think that this competence model, even you don't want to be a coach, you want to be a leader, because everyone has his career plan in their minds. Okay, the point is that at least if you want to call to yourself the DevOps, DASA Fundamentals has the answers for that thing. And I used to recommend trainings, webinars, and whatever to understand that. Even I was trying to teach, to do some internal trainings in the company about the things for, okay, and let's go now, get the certification, and now you can say that you are a DevOps, because at this point you are an operations manager or operations engineer, and you are doing operations, you are not doing DevOps. So sorry for that thing.
Yeah, no, good answer. Good answer. So can you also, we've got a question here, can you also share your perspective on how you might be applying the idea of creating full stack professionals, or T-shaped professionals, as they are increasingly referred to in the industry? So to broaden the skill set of DevOps professionals.
T-shapes professionals. Okay, I think that the nature of the DevOps, of the people who is working operation, is a T-shape, because the people has a cross line that he has a lot of IT knowledge, because if you don't have that, it's impossible to work in this industry. And the point is that most of the people is just now creating this vertical in the knowledge. Right now, even has more sense, because, for example, in the infrastructure as a code, or when you are trying to work with a multi-cloud environments, it means that you need to have a lot of expertise on these kind of tools, on the resources, even the vendors. Then at this point, the point is we were talking in the previous topic is if you go to one of these verticals of the knowledge, of course, there's two collaterals that you need to understand. It's you're working in the infrastructure as a code. It's very important you understand how to commission that later. That, for example, you are provisioning virtual machines, or you're provisioning how to configure these virtual machines for being inside of the Kubernetes cluster. But previous that point, it's important to understand how to make a very good pipeline for receive the order to deploy the thing. You are creating a dev environment, a QA environment, or a production environment, right? I mean, for me, you have the T-shape. It means that the cross line, that you are having a very good look, or you have a very good perspective about the end-to-end. You are understanding every single step, and you are specialized in one of the verticals. The point is that it's a very good thing, and the point is that I think that this aligned with what we were talking before, that you could understand what is my previous guy doing, my previous team doing, the second team what is doing, they doing, or mostly of the time I'm just involved in that thing. You are working in a small team, right?
In that sense, Luis, I would say, like, from the perspective of a startup, it's completely different. When you're working in a startup, you don't have a database administrator, a security advisor, or you don't have a Kubernetes administrator, and neither many topics or many technologies, you need to manage them and be the administrator and work with them. So as the business grows, you can specialize, but since it's small, you need to know really all the tools by your own and manage them. Obviously, you don't use those tools with perhaps not always, but perhaps you don't use those tools with specialization, like in perhaps in big companies or in multinational companies.
Okay.
full stack professionals, I think that it's mostly for these kind of small companies that the people should do every single step of they need. But there's a life cycle inside. Even in these startups, the full stack professional has a life cycle doing all the jobs, all the tasks there. But when the company is successful and they are increasing the participation in the market, they are increasing the number of concurrent users. They need to increase the solutions. That's the point where these companies is just hiring people for taking care about some of the parts and not the full stack thing.
So how do you, I mean, create sort of like, obviously we're talking about T ways of, T-shaped organizations. How do you get teams to lead other teams or to, do it the right way when it comes to, so that there's not just one person they're answering to? Creating leaders within teams.
I think that the leader just born. You identify the leader very easy, and you need to push him. But for me, the companies right now, the people should work in horizontal layer. The leadership should be inside of every single team member. You need to push the leadership that all of that have, because most of the time when you're working with when you're working with several people in these new technologies, with this new way of working, when they realize that working all together, sharing the knowledge, sharing the responsibilities, having the end-to-end in mind, working with the devs teams, with the product owners, doing the observability about how the end user is taking care about is using your application or all the process, every single thing. People realize that maybe, okay, I was an operation guy, but I'm just feeling very comfortable in the QA. And maybe he could be a very good QA and he can grow up because he has the motivation for doing that. Leaders should be motivated. And I think that part of our job as a team leaders, maybe a DevOps practice leader, as Ausias and me, is to identify who could be the leader in the right place. Then, of course, we are motivating that, but the first most important point is that to offer them the possibility to be leaders, all of them, and to create a high performance team. For me, is a high performance team is a team is conformed by people who feels that he is a leader or is part of the leadership of the team.
And is it easy to find, the sort of right skills for the teams? I mean, at the moment, obviously, we've talked about, there's a lot going on about sort of finding the right talent. How do you sort of manage teams? How do you upskill and reskill teams? Or is it hard to find new talent to bring in?
Well, I mean, well, that depends on the business necessity. If the team and the business needs more team members, you need to recruit them, and you need to do recruitment processes. But I mean, there is no magic on that. I mean, it depends on the team's necessity.
So, Ausias, for example, how do you manage it within your organization? How do in terms of finding the right talent with the right skills, or how do you manage, kind of like also training within your teams?
Well, it's worth to mention that in my company, we have a flat hierarchy. So we don't have leaders in that sense. We all are part of the team, and we between all together what we want for the product to be.
So because you're a startup, so you obviously everybody has to know how everything works and work together as a team and understand, what they need to know to make it work. Basically,
that's the point. I mean, we are a startup, and we are working in collaboratively. So decisions are made between all together. It's not like there is I mean, we decide between all together what are the features of the product and
Okay.
what will be our roadmap. So that's different. And what will be our next monitoring tool or whatever. We decide between all together.
Okay.
And obviously there are people who has more expertise in something or the other, but there is no specialized roles on that.
And when you talk about roadmaps, can you explain what you need to consider when building a successful roadmap?
Well, for me, from my perspective, building a successful roadmap is taking care of your stakeholders and users. What are you selling? What do you expect your product to fulfill? And you need to translate those necessities in your product features. It's what a roadmap must have. You need to understand not only. I mean, when we build a roadmap, we need to read the necessities from the market, stakeholders, the marketing team, but also from the technical team. So I've seen in some companies that when it was to decide what will be the roadmap, the technical team didn't have a vote on it, and that was a problem because many of the problems were technical. They were not understood by the business, and they didn't enter into the roadmap and into the backlog, and that provoked that a product won't be maintainable, won't be um, updated, and many of the things that you can lose with your product. You start a product with some technologies, and in 2 years
Hang on, I've lost you slightly. You still there?
Yeah,
Yep.
you
yes,
create
you're
a
back.
product, and with one technology, and in 2 years you need to update that technology because it's already obsolete, and you need to update it. But that's not understood by marketing or whatever department is in charge of the business product, the roadmap.
Yeah, so the most important thing is to make everybody understand what is, on your roadmap, including the technical team, to, make sure that they are following the guidelines and everybody's on the same page with those. I mean, Luis, obviously, did you see this as a problem? What Ozis is talking about?
Yes, of course. The problem with the roadmaps is that mostly of the times the roadmap comes from the high level part of the company. The point is that after several years, seeing that the problem is the alignment, it means that the roadmap that comes from the high level of the part, it means that sometimes we are missing the point that some of the technical guys has the best knowledge about the technological or the technical capabilities that we have implemented in the company. The point is that for me, the roadmap is compounded by 3 factors. The first one is the strategical, tactical, and operational. And when you are defining the roadmap, for me, the best tool, and you can see that in the DASA DevOps Coach plan, is to use the OKRs. Because when you are creating the objective, you're aligning all the objectives from the higher level to the lower level in the company. You are trying to work in a finance, and you are trying to align all the people inside there. The point is maybe it's not the CEO or the CTO or whatever who is defining the purpose of the job, is the end customers, because if we are putting the company in the customer-centric positions. Okay, for us to understand what the customer wants is aligned with all the different tasks across all the organization. The point is that OKRs for me is the best way, because of course, defining a successful roadmap is when you are going to up, you are going to the top level, because the top level is what the customer wants, not what the company wants, because the company should want what their customer wants.
Hmm.
And how many efforts, trainings, technology resources I need for achieve that goal, and
Hmm.
to imply all the layers of the company to achieve that goal. And of course, you can split this new one, this main goal, in personal and organizational goals. Most of the times the people wants to work in cloud, and you can offer them the possibility to, okay, this customer wants to have a mobile applications for get this information as soon as possible. Okay, the best solution is to use a cloud environment for that thing. Okay, that's the opportunity to offer to our team to train and to use and to learn as much as they can in the cloud thing. Of course, for that guys, maybe it's not aligned with that. They are not aware about what is the customer wants. But the point is that we are linking in the roadmap, we are linking the destiny, the goal that we want to achieve with the using cloud and the learning of cloud. We are achieving the goals of all the teams and all the people. Most of the times, this is one of the things that most works better than other things. And for me,
Okay.
this is the point. And of course, one good roadmap is that roadmap that we are questioning every single step, because we need to learn to hear, to listen to our customers, because sometimes the customer wants that thing, but
Yes.
in 3 months they want another thing. Then we need to point to another direction. Then we need to try to change every single thing for pointing to
Hmm.
this new direction. This is the good roadmap for me.
So continuous improvement.
Yeah, that's the point. And continuous improvement is for you, for your organization, and for your customer. You need to take care of these 3 dimensions every single day.
Okay, great. And obviously, we haven't got that many minutes, but just a quick question. If you have to recommend the technical skills that young professionals should focus on, can you name a few technical skills that you expect, for them to have to join to have good employability?
I
Just to
would say
finish off.
I would say that the most important skill is to be prepared to be updated. When you finish the degree, you know some technologies, and you think you are gonna work with those technologies, and you are eager to work to use them. But in 5 years, they are going to be obsolete, and you will need to use another ones. So you need to be prepared to be learning technologies every time. So that's a skill of being continuously prepared to be learning. And that's something that is not told in the university.
No. Do they give you that
Unfortunately.
time? Do they give you that time, Ozias, in your company? Do they give you time to learn, to be
Sure,
updated?
sure. Mhm.
Okay. And what about you, Luis? What would you say is the most important skills to
Okay,
have?
I'm just totally agree with Osias. The point is that when we were hiring people together in SQD, we were looking for one guy who has the attitude to learn every single day. Because what we didn't want in our team was people who is not has no many curiosity about the new tools and the new ways of working. But if I need to put the focus in topics, special topics, I think for me it's very important to understand what agile is. The second part is work with security in mind. They're cheaper. Today you can get access to cheap trainings about ISO 27001 revision 2013 is about the security about information is security of information. It means that you can get best practice for work with security, because right now in every single project, if you're not working in web 3.0, you are managing sensitive data, and it's very important right now in this world. Of course, to get a real DevOps certification, for me, that's a DevOps fundamentals could be a good first step, because you can understand very well how DevOps is, and you can put that you are a DevOps for sure, because you understand how DevOps works. And of course, all the automation tools as much as you can, because
Wonderful.
cloud is wonderful, but mostly of the times the problem is not in the cloud. The problem is that you need to create and destroy things. And the last topic for the guys who is working right now, my recommendation is about FinOps. FinOps is something that you can learn about how to manage the budget for using the cost. In the future, the DevOps teams will manage the budget for their projects, and they need to take care about how many machines they are configuring, destroying, and so on. And I think that is a very good point to understanding how it works.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both, Luis and Oz. Yes, I mean, that was a great webinar with so much information to process, and continuous learning, continuous updating, and, you know, what are the important factors to consider onboarding talent and also rotating talent and making sure that they stay up to date with the technical tools. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Osias, for staying here with me. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Dasa. And thank you, all the people, for giving us this opportunity.
And if you would like to learn more about Dasa, please go to our website, www.devopsagileskills.org. And yeah, we'll sign off now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us here.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.